Hey, it's Christine Kane, president and founder of Uplevel U, and welcome to a very special edition of Instant Uplevel. Here's how this worked. This week I posted to Facebook and asked you to send me your questions about my Defying Gravity training, and that I would pick a name and post it on this week's Instant Uplevel. And so the winner is Julie, and Julie writes, is it unrealistic to want it all? Or to think I can have it all? I want to earn a huge income, run a wildly successful business that makes my heart sing, have an amazing marriage, experience intimacy and connectedness with my young daughter, and foster amazing relationships with other women entrepreneurs. Just writing this gets my heart pumping, but it seems too good, too much. Does something have to give? Okay, so Julie, first thing I'm going to do is give you a little coaching on how you posed this question. Because when you're working with a coach, the first thing I want you to get clear on is that you don't want to ask yes or no questions, because what you're doing is you're giving away your power. You're kind of saying, should I do this? And it's not coaching anymore, it's collapsing. And so my answer for you is not going to be about should you, or is it, or anything like that, because those are questions you have to answer. And when you use words like, is it practical? Is this unrealistic? I can tell you there are going to be so many people out in the world who will tell you yes. And they are called muggles. There's a very real reason why Harry Potter got so popular, is because that whole world, there are people who say there's no possibility, there is no magic, there is no dream that can happen, just stick with the program. And I had many of those people talk to me when I first wanted to become a musician, then I wanted to start a company. And I've created so much stuff that those people don't even talk to me anymore, because the reason those people exist and tell you things like this are unrealistic is because they've got to match their world. They've got to match their reality, because if they were to say to you, Julie, that's totally doable, go for it, and they're still stuck in their lame cubicle job that they've stayed in for 20 years because they've told themselves that story, that that's all that's possible, they would have to then get up and start doing something. So, as the first point is, what do you think? What do you believe? Is it possible? And I think you know the answer to it, because you are watching someone like me, you're watching other people, you're seeing people out there literally explode their world into beyond their dreams. It wasn't possible for me, but I did it anyway. It wasn't even possible or realistic for me to have a multi-million-dollar business, but I did it anyway. Okay, so then let's talk about this goal. And that's the second place I want to take you, is that when we ask questions like this, what's happening is we're seeing the goal as something out there that will suddenly show up. Like, here it is, the $1 million, the amazing relationship. And we're seeing it as something that's outside of us. And it's a really disempowering way to look at something you want to create in your world. And the thing I want to talk about, the perspective I would speak to it from, is you have to become that goal. I don't know where you are right now, Julie. I don't know what in your life, is working, isn't working. But who do you have to become in order to make this goal start to be embodied in you? What characteristics, what traits do you have to become? And when you're thinking in that way, you have to start thinking about this, all right? So you're here, and your goal is, let's say, here. Or I'm thinking of video now, here. And you've got to get from here to here. A lot of people, when they're looking at the goal as something way outside of them, they forget the most important thing about creating that goal, and that is the space in between the one and the other. Some people call it a gap, and I don't love that way of looking at it. I'd rather you look at it as the between space. And this space is actually where it all starts to evolve. Because what's going to happen is, as you work on you, as you work on these things that you want, when it actually arrives, you're not going to notice it as, wow, it's just going to be there, because you will have evolved into it. So I don't look around at my world now and go, oh my God, look at me with all this stuff, because I became it on the way. And so what I would look at, Julie, is you're talking about different areas of your life. You're talking about business. You're obviously talking about wealth. You're talking about a relationship with a man, your husband. I don't know if he's already in your life. You're talking about relationships with your daughter, who is, and friends, people. Where are you now in those areas? And what small steps can you take to move toward them? And that's the real kicker, is that most of us don't want to take small steps. We want it to all be there. And so what we do is we make movies about what is or isn't possible. And that's just a convenient excuse to not have to take one small step. And so this is my question to Julie, and it is also the question to anyone who's watching this. In the comments below, I want you to say one big dream that you have. One thing that feels maybe even a little out there in terms of realistic or unrealistic. And why don't you share one step you can take toward becoming that goal and that dream? What is one thing you can do starting today?